But this judge used his authority to require litigants in his courtroom to do what he thinks is politically correct. And he did that as a magistrate judge. And he'll do it as a federal district judge, and you know it. Once again, I don't care what his political beliefs are, but he has no right as a sitting judge to direct in writing litigants in his courtroom to stand up and introduce themselves by saying, "My name is John Kennedy. My preferred pronouns are." Now, the judge said in his testimony that was voluntary. That's not true. I've read the order. And he said, but it's voluntary. It's voluntary. Right. I'm a litigant in his courtroom paying a lawyer $400 an hour to try to get my case resolved. And the man on the bench who's going to decide my case tells me to stand up and announce my pronoun.
What you just watched is exactly why these judicial hearings matter, and why Senator John Kennedy's comments have people fired up on both sides. This video isn't about personalities, it's about power, boundaries, and whether a judge understands the limits of the robe. Welcome back to Congress Lens. I'm Audrey. On this channel, we cut through the noise and look closely at what lawmakers actually say and what it means for everyday Americans. After watching this exchange, I believe Senator John Kennedy raises a serious constitutional concern that can't be brushed off as politics or partisanship. If you care about judicial independence, free expression, and how much authority a judge should really have over citizens in a courtroom, you'll want to stay through this breakdown. Before we dive in, like the video, subscribe to Congress Lens, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next congressional deep dive. Now let's talk about what really happened here.
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Kennedy.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not going to repeat what my colleague Senator Cruz said about Judge Casabai, but he's not qualified to be on the federal bench. And everybody on this in this hearing today knows that. You heard the same testimony I heard. He's entitled to his beliefs. Look, about 90% of my personal philosophy is don't hurt somebody unless you have to defend yourself. Don't steal other people's stuff, and leave me alone. If you want to use different pronouns, that is your business. I may not agree, I may not do it, but that's your business. This is America, and you're free to do that. But this judge used his authority to require litigants in his courtroom to do what he thinks is politically correct. And he did that as a magistrate judge. And he'll do it as a federal district judge, and you know it. Once again, I don't care what his political beliefs are, but he has no right as a sitting judge to direct in writing litigants in his courtroom to stand up and introduce themselves by saying, "My name is John Kennedy. My preferred pronouns are." Now, the judge said in his testimony that was voluntary. That's not true. I've read the order. And he said, but it's voluntary. It's voluntary. Right. I'm a litigant in his courtroom paying a lawyer $400 an hour to try to get my case resolved. And the man on the bench who's going to decide my case tells me to stand up and announce my pronoun. That's not voluntary. That's oppressive. And that alone, forget his writings, which Senator Cruz went through very eloquently. That alone tells me that he cannot exercise power maturely. If I could vote no twice, I would. And on this final point, when President Trump nominated people that weren't qualified to be on the federal bench, we killed those nominations. And several people on your side of the aisle, my Democratic colleagues, and on our side of the aisle did it. By my count, we killed 5 of them. Dead as fried chicken. And we didn't do it behind closed doors. We did it here in the committee. We demonstrated they weren't qualified. Now, here's your chance. This man is not qualified to exercise power as a federal judge. It's bad enough that he's a magistrate. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Judge Kasabai has responded to the questions that have been raised on this topic, and I'd like to read his response. Let me state unequivocally, as I did during my hearing, I am not and never have been a Marxist. I have never espoused nor subscribed to Marxist theories. Rather, I've been an active participant in and beneficiary of the American capitalist system, as is clear from my own holdings of private property and securities, as detailed in the statement of net worth provided to this committee. And there's more, if you wish to read it. Let me also note that he has served for 16 years on the state and federal bench and as a neutral appellate decision maker for 4 years on the Oregon Workers' Compensation Board. He has an ample record of service as a judge, and his philosophy is demonstrated in any rulings that he has handed down. So in defense of Judge Kasabai, I think some of the charges that are being made are wildly unsubstantiated.
Mr. Chairman, may I be heard for just 30 more seconds?
I've been very generous to
I know you have. Would you be generous one more time?
I will. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the judge's response, but we all heard his testimony, and we all have read his record. And sometimes people don't tell the truth in their responses. I'm not calling the man a liar. I'm just saying, who are you going to believe? His written responses, probably crafted by the White House lawyers, or his testimony in committee? And I think what we're going to see going forward is more of these types of exchanges going on here today. When somebody is qualified to be on the federal bench, by God, I will stand up. I don't care what party they are. I was the lone Republican vote to confirm a nominee from Tennessee. I'm almost done, Mr. Chairman.
Almost
the
30
lone
seconds.
Republican vote. But from now on, if we're going to play it like this, we're going to have a debate on all of these nominees and talk about their testimony in committee and who was forthcoming and who wasn't. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You've been very kind, and I appreciate the extra time.
You're welcome. Unfortunately, one of our members has had to go to the floor, and we don't know when he's going to return, and I can't ask the committee to sit and wait. We'll reconsider these 2 nominations next week. The committee stands adjourned.
After watching the full hearing, Senator John Kennedy's argument comes down to one core issue. A judge does not get to use the courtroom as a place for personal or ideological enforcement. John Kennedy makes it clear from the start that this isn't about disliking someone's beliefs. In fact, Kennedy openly says people are free to live how they want, believe what they want, and express themselves how they want. That's America. The line, according to Kennedy, is crossed the moment a judge uses official authority to compel behavior from people who have no real ability to say no. That's the heart of Kennedy's objection to Judge Cobby's courtroom order requiring litigants to introduce themselves using preferred pronouns. Judge Cobby claims the policy was voluntary. John Kennedy dismantles that argument in a very practical way. A litigant standing in court, paying hundreds of dollars an hour for legal representation, facing a judge who will rule on the case, that person is not in a position of freedom. When the person on the bench issues an instruction, it carries weight. Power changes the meaning of the word voluntary. Kennedy calls that dynamic what it is, coercive. And this isn't abstract. Courts are one of the few places where the government has immediate and direct control over outcomes that affect people's lives, finances, and freedom. John Kennedy's position is that judges must be especially careful not to blur personal ideology with legal authority. Kennedy also reminds the committee that judicial nominations have been blocked before, under Republican presidents and Democratic presidents, when nominees were found unqualified. He points out that those decisions were made openly, in committee, not quietly or politically. His message is simple: standards should not change just because the politics are uncomfortable. When another senator reads Judge Cobby's written response denying Marxist beliefs and highlighting years of service, John Kennedy doesn't attack Judge Cobby personally. Instead, Kennedy raises a credibility issue that juries and judges deal with every day. Testimony matters. Live answers under questioning matter. Conduct matters. Written statements drafted with legal help do not erase what happened on the record. John Kennedy's final warning is important. Kennedy says that if nominees are going to give answers in committee that don't line up with their actions, then every nominee is going to face deeper scrutiny regardless of party. And frankly, that's how confirmation hearings are supposed to work. This reaction isn't about left versus right. It's about whether judges understand that their power must be restrained, not expanded through social pressure or personal preferences. On that point, John Kennedy makes a strong, grounded argument that resonates well beyond this single nomination. That's my take from Congress Lens. If you agree, or even if you strongly disagree, drop your thoughts in the comments. These debates only matter if people are paying attention. I'm Audrey, and I'll see you in the next one.